Hikers often claim that using an umbrella makes them feel cooler, but does it actually lower skin temperature? Feeling cool and being cool isn't always the same, and the only way to know for sure is through physiological measurement. In this program, we review a scientific study that examined individuals exercising under umbrellas in the summer sun. Researchers took key physiological measurements, including skin temperature, core body temperature, and other indicators to determine the actual effects of shade on the body. The results may surprise you. Stay tuned as we break down the science behind staying cool outdoors, and we reveal what happens to the body under the protection of an umbrella. In science, there is an enormous amount of research, and it is calling out to doctors competing for their attention. Of course, they want to stay current with the latest research, and it has priority. As the research ages, it becomes buried under new research and is eventually lost and forgotten. I like to read older books and papers, looking for useful but lost and forgotten facts. I call what I find lost gems. I found a 37-year-old study that is one of those lost gems. In fact, I, the hiking doc, officially designate this study a rediscovered lost gem. It addresses the effect of umbrellas used during exercise on body heat balance. Let's take a closer look at this gem. In the study, the scientists placed 10 Caucasian males dressed only in white shorts and shoes on a stationary bicycle ergometer outside in the summer sun under a clear sky. They conducted a total of 20 trials. In 10 trials, the subject faced the sun. In the other 10 trials, his back was exposed to the sun. As for the umbrella used in the trials, the scientists applied aluminum foil to both sides of its canopy. They conducted the experiment in Denmark, which is in the northern latitudes. In fact, it is further north than any of the 48 contiguous United States. For this reason, despite the fact that they conducted the experiment in the summer months between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., the summer temperatures were considerably cooler than those in the United States, usually running in the 70s. For each trial, the subject would cycle at a constant rate at a set resistance for 60 minutes outside in the sun. Then they put the umbrella over the cyclist for the next 30 minutes. They removed the umbrella for the final 30 minutes. They measured the relevant variables every 10 minutes. Here are the results, which are the mean values for all 20 trials. The units of all this data are watts. During the sun conditions, the body gained 125 watts of solar radiation. During the shade condition, it gained 22 watts of solar radiation. You may ask, if a person is in the shade, why are they gaining any solar radiation at all? The direct solar radiation is blocked by the umbrella, but some radiation gets around the umbrella. This radiation is called indirect solar radiation. It has two components: indirect diffuse solar radiation from the sky and indirect solar radiation from reflections off of soil and other objects. If we subtract the quantity of indirect solar from the total solar radiation, we get the quantity of direct solar radiation, which in this case is about 100 watts. Using an umbrella while exercising reduced the body's heat gain from direct solar radiation by 100 watts. Let's examine sweat rates. In the sun condition, sweat rates reached the 400s, while in the shade condition, it was in the 300s, an approximate difference of 100 watts. This indicates that the heat gain from direct solar radiation was offset by a proportional increase in sweat losses. In warm environments, metabolic heat generated by working muscles can partly dissipate through dry heat losses, that is, through convection and radiation. The remaining heat is expelled through evaporative cooling via sweat. Any additional heat gained from solar radiation must be counterbalanced by an increase in sweat production. Adding an extra 100 watts of heat increases the heat load significantly. The sweat rates increased by about 1/3 during the sun component of the trial compared to the shade component. Using an umbrella to reduce solar heat gain can significantly decrease a hiker's sweat losses, which in turn lowers their water requirements. Simply put, you won't need to drink as much to stay hydrated. On many hiking routes, there are no additional sources of water, meaning hikers must carry enough to meet all their needs. By using an umbrella in warm, sunny climates, you can extend the lifespan of your water supply. Reducing sweat is a great reason to use an umbrella. Yet, there is another reason. The data tells the story. Under direct sunlight, the metabolic rate hovered in the upper 500-watt range. In the shade, it dropped to the lower 500s. That's a significant decrease. The human body is roughly 20% efficient, meaning that only 20% of the energy expended translates into external work, while the remaining 80% dissipates as heat. What does this mean? Exercising under the umbrella requires less metabolic heat generation to achieve the same amount of external work. In other words, the body becomes more efficient simply by staying in the shade. Looking at stored body heat, during the sun condition, body heat storage increased by an additional 37 watts. In contrast, under the shade condition, body heat storage decreased by 11 watts. That is a 48-watt difference between the two conditions. It remains unclear whether this heat loss was a direct result of the lower metabolic heat production rate. Nevertheless, the body experienced a slight cooling effect when under the umbrella. You can see why I gave this study my lost gem designation. These are two great reasons to use an umbrella. But there's more. Using an umbrella resulted in lower skin temperatures, about 1.5 degrees Celsius lower, that is 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. Why is this important? Lower skin temperatures are associated with better performance. In terms of hiking, it means you can better maintain your pace. When your skin feels too hot, you will slow down or stop. This measured lower skin temperature proves that you just don't feel cooler in the shade of an umbrella. You are actually cooler. This adds a third benefit to the other two benefits. I would expect a hiker using an umbrella to keep cooler is less likely to suffer from heat-related illnesses such as heat stroke and heat exhaustion. Hiking and backpacking are among the few sports where it is practical to use an umbrella. For most other sports, using an umbrella is impractical. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, the study was conducted at a relatively high latitude. Naturally, we would expect solar radiation intensity to be greater at lower latitudes, where ambient air temperatures also tend to be higher. Over 80 years ago, in the 1940s, Edward Adolph and his associates studied human physiology in desert conditions. They published their findings in book form in 1947. I designate their book a rediscovered lost gem. Their experiments took place in the American deserts of the Southwest, where latitudes were in the mid-30s. During the peak of summer heat, they estimated that the direct solar heat gain on a nude man standing in the sun could reach as high as 196 watts, a significant increase compared to the 100-watt gain observed in the more northern latitude. And remember, sweat plays a crucial role in offsetting these heat gains. The higher temperatures and solar intensity at lower latitudes mean you'll lose much more water while hiking in these conditions. We have been talking about semi-nude and nude persons. What if a person wears clothes? Adolph previously found that clothing reduced heat gain in hot environments by over 116 watts compared to a semi-nude condition. This leads to the question, will additional shade, such as that provided by an umbrella, further reduce direct solar heat gain in a clothed person? Edward Adolph conducted an experiment to answer this question. For the experiment, he selected 2 soldiers, both dressed in olive green military uniforms made of rayon. In the shade condition, one soldier sat on a wooden crate beneath a large military tent with its walls rolled up, leaving the sides open. In the sun condition, the other soldier sat on a wooden crate near the tent, positioned with his back to the sun. Data was collected over the next hour before the soldiers switched positions, repeating the cycle. The results found a 108-watt reduction in heat gain by direct solar radiation in the shade condition compared to the sun condition. Clothing slows the rate of heat absorption from a hot environment. Adding shade further minimizes heat gain, making an umbrella a beneficial tool for staying cool when dressed in hot ambient temperatures. Try using an umbrella during your next hiking adventure in the sun. Your body will thank you. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this program and think I've earned your support, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Your engagement helps a lot. I hope to see you back here soon. Until next time, this is the Hiking Doc reminding you it is your responsibility to keep yourself safe.